Chinese President Xi Jinping is leading a regional summit aimed at offering the world an alternative to the current Western-led world order. Speaking earlier this Monday at the Showpiece SCO summit, Xi slammed what he called bullying behavior from certain countries, what seemed to be a veiled reference to the United States. She's welcoming several leaders in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, including Russian President Vladimir Putin and India's Narendra Modi. We're going to talk a bit more about all of this with our Delano D'Souza, who joins me now on the set. Delano, a lot of the world paying attention to what's going on there in Tianjin, China today.
Indeed, Jeannie. This summit comes as the United States tries to bring the war in Ukraine to an end. And what we saw earlier today in Tianjin was the leader of the world's second largest economy come together with Narendra Modi, a leader he's not really had great relations with in the past few years, and the world's most sanctioned country. And together they called out injustices with the current rules-based order. Take a listen to what the Indian Prime Minister had to say.
Keeping the aspirations of the Global South caged in an outdated framework is an injustice towards future generations. Multicolored dreams of the new generation cannot be telecast on black and white screen. The screen must be changed.
Now, those comments from the Indian Prime Minister come just a week after the U.S. slapped those 50% tariffs on New Delhi. Half that levy is for India's continued purchases of Russian oil. Essentially, we have the Trump administration trying to point the finger of blame at the continued war in Ukraine on New Delhi. This is what we're seeing happen.
Right. And it does look like India is inching closer to China, particularly given those 50% tariffs.
That's right. But we must add some caution to that, because the border tensions between India and China still remain. But yes, we are seeing this thaw in relations between the two sides, which actually started towards the end of last year. Experts are cautioning that India is not necessarily going to look eastward to China as it shops around for new markets in light of these 50% U.S. tariffs. There was a bilateral meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the Chinese President yesterday, and the sense we got from both of them that it was a positive meeting. Narendra Modi said they reviewed the positive momentum in India-China relations, adding that they were committed to cooperation based on mutual respect, mutual interest, and mutual sensitivity. This was Narendra Modi's first visit to China since 2018, and its first bilateral, face-to-face with Xi Jinping since 2018, and his first visit to the country in some 7 years.
So, Delano, where do things stand at the moment then with India and the United States?
Well, India's leaving the door open to negotiation with the U.S. The position from New Delhi has been no confrontation, no capitulation. Now, we have got some reports this past week from the Frankfurter Allgemeine, the German daily, which said that Narendra Modi had dodged 4 Trump phone calls recently. The last time these two leaders spoke was on the 17th of June. That was 1 month after that ceasefire agreement with Pakistan came into effect. And essentially what we've seen since that ceasefire was reached between what Delhi says was just India and Pakistan was Donald Trump try and take credit for bringing that conflict to an end. And we've even heard a report from the New York Times saying that Donald Trump mentioned to the Indian Prime Minister that the Pakistani side had in fact nominated him for a Nobel Peace Prize. Essentially, New Delhi rebuffed that statement and didn't really add to that, trying to set the record straight. But essentially what we're seeing now is the United States tighten the screws on India. The U.S. Trade Secretary Peter Navarro essentially called it Modi's war, the conflict in Ukraine, Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And what New Delhi is trying to do is call out the hypocrisy from the United States, because China buys more Russian oil than India. Turkey, which is a NATO member, also buys Russian oil. And what New Delhi is saying is petroleum. So what India essentially does, Jeannie, is it buys Russian oil, refines it in India, and sells it on to the European Union. Those petroleum products are exempt from U.S. sanctions. So the EU is not getting hit with what the U.S. is doing to India. So basically, India's calling out the hypocrisy here. These two sides are confident, the Indian side is confident that they can potentially reach a trade agreement, some even saying that they were close to reaching a trade agreement. But from New Delhi, what has been eroded is the trust. You have to recall that both Donald Trump and Narendra Modi are strong men, so they will have to do what is in the best interest of their country. But what is interesting regarding this scenario, when you speak to anyone in India, GNP, whether they like Modi, don't like Modi, like Russia, don't like Russia, nobody wants Modi to back down. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see who blinks first in this scenario.
All right, Delano, thanks for that. France 24's Delano D'Souza.